Why is being against immigration considered racist or immoral? Because the loudest shouters against immigration tend to also be racist. It's a Venn diagram. And there's a huge overlap. Can only speak for my experience with American xenophobia, but from what I've seen, the people most opposed to immigration are primarily concerned with immigrants who don't look like them. They don't give a shit about European immigrants. Not even illegal ones. If pressed, they might grudgingly claim to also have a problem with them. But they won't be found shouting over the problem of illegal Irish or Russian immigrants in America. The racism comes from a long history of American political figures demonizing specific races of people who are immigrating legally and illegally in large numbers as a distraction from current policies in the USA, unrelated to said people, that are creating unemployment, labor inequalities, and economic inequality in the USA. It is a game of smoke and mirrors to blame immigrants for labor and social ills because the same people exploit immigrant labor in their own homes, farms, and restaurants and profit, while their public blaming has resulted in massacres, murders, and disappearances in communities in the USA since the 1800s on. So it's more how you go about being against immigration. Like, if you are against immigration as a whole, well, that's short-sighted and uninformed. Like, you can't reasonably be anti-movement of people without being a bit xenophobic or nationalist emo. Now, if you're against illegal immigration, then well, the issue with that is people can't, or rather shouldn't, be illegal. They're just people. Now you can be against illegal immigration and want the path to citizenship fixed or made easier. That's fine, but to be anti-immigration or anti the movement of people in any form is, well, inherently fucked. After how long without sex are you considered no longer sexually active? If a doctor were to ask? Probably since the last visit and with zero prospects on the horizon. You just tell them the last time you were. Long enough to have your V card reinstated. It's easier to just say when the last time you had sex was. No fuss. No ambiguity. Just data. I don't think there's a time you actually deactivate once you start. Which is kind of weird. Like once you discover sex. That's just your permanent state of being from then on. Good question. 2 months, with no plans of near future sex. I was sexually active February. Do you mean with another person? Doc ? And quat. You mean self-help counts or not as sex? Doctors won't judge. Just ask them and they will probably ask when was the last time you were sexually active. You regrow your virginity after 5 years. That's my area of expertise. Probably around 9 months. It can also be what you think. If you had sex last month then decided that you didn't want to have sex for a while, technically you're sexually inactive. Lol, I too want to know how much time does science considers to be into the sexually active spectrum, but if a doctor judges me or anything. Just real curious. Is there a number for reference? I think it's more to do with intent. If you're trying to have sex then you're sexually active even if it's been a few weeks. I guess if you go an extended amount of time without it you might consider yourself inactive. Spoilers, if you answer well, it's been a couple of hours, you unlock the secret ending doctorate high five and quat. It's a pretty rare achievement. Real boring answer. 6 to 12 months is what they're really wanting to know. What is one thing that you wish didn't exist? Why? People just leaving an answer without any elaboration under a question that requires you to explain the why behind why you choose that specific answer. Human trafficking. Nobody should ever have to be held captive and forced into a world they didn't sign up for, especially for evil people to rape and make money off them. It's very sad this type of shit go on in the world. Apathy. I just feel like it's the root cause of most issues and why they don't get fixed. Think about all the stuff that you deal with today that years ago who would have fought against. But now you accept as a part of the day. How about your goals that keep getting pushed off because you can't be bothered to take the first/next step? How many projects have been dropped? Considering the effect on a global scale, I wholeheartedly believe that Earth would be a utopian paradise if apathy was forgotten and everyone felt the drive to chase their goals and refuse to put up with a terrible thing that don't affect them. Pears. I'm tired of pretending that pears have any use in the world. They taste like a bland apple. They're shaped weirdly. They have a gross texture. They don't make anything. Have you ever heard of a pear pie? Or pear juice? No, you haven't, and if you have, you're probably the only weirdo on the planet who enjoys a pear. Look at it, the blasted thing, I hate them. Trying so hard to be an apple and flopping severely. #apples forever. #Pierce never. Bigotry. Obviously I don't like being called a pedo just because I want to pee. I don't like being called a devil just because I like girls and guys, and I don't like getting my rids kicked in my the ass. Hate bigots at school. But not just bigotry that affects me. Like all of it. Fuck racism. Fuck colorism. Fuck xenophobia. Fuck it all to hell and just let me live in peace. All I want is a house to clean and children to raise. Please just let me live. What is your most controversial movie opinion? Watchmen is the best comic book movie of all time. Every other comic book movie is the same boring ass story arc and there are no real stakes. No matter what happens you know the good guy is going to win in the end and everyone lives happily ever after, not Watchmen. Also, I feel like DC has been trying to replicate that dark edgy tone that Watchmen had. But they fail miserably almost every single time. Definitely Zack Snyder's best work in my opinion. 1. Jojo Rabbit had the Soviets for one scene cause they didn't want to show US soldiers executing Germans. The Soviets disappeared after that scene and aren't seen again and only appear immediately before that scene. 2. The inclusion of POC soldiers in the background in multiple scenes in 1917 with no acknowledgement and shows them getting along well with their white counterparts makes the film strangely pro-British Empire. 3. The famous crater scene in All Quiet on the Western Front is diminished in the recent remake by the main character seeing his friend get immolated by the French immediately before it. I don't think he'd be in a merciful or regretful mood after that. Just my opinions. Unless it's part of a large franchise, e.g. Marvel. I rarely remember the characters' names. I refer to them as the actors' names or what their job in the movie is. And I know I'm not the only one who does this. So the fact that I can only name a few of the character names from Avatar isn't in itself a condemnation of the movie. It's a movie about Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, and Sigourney Weaver. Just as Inception is about Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Cillian Murphy.